Well, guys, today we are going to talk about the simple past in Spanish. We call it Pasado Simple. So, the first template, as you can see, we're going to talk about these verbs. Irregular verbs. Remember, these are exceptions, or you have to memorize each case because we don't have like a simple rule to follow in all cases. So, you have to memorize this, okay? As you can see in these three verbs, we have poder, that it means I can. Querer, I want. Tener, I have. Yo pude. Tú pudiste. Vos pudiste. Él, ella, usted pudo. Nosotros, nosotras pudimos. Vosotros, vosotras pudisteis. Ellos, ellas, ustedes pudieron. In this case, we are going to talk about I can, but in simple past, it's going to be I could. So that it means I could. I could go to the movie. Yo pude ir al cine. Querer. Querer, I wanted. In this case, it's going to be yo quise. Tú quisiste. Vosotros quisiste. Él, ella, usted quiso. Nosotros, nosotras quisimos. Vosotros, vosotras quisisteis. Ellos, ellas, ustedes quisieron. Tener. Yo tuve. Tú tuviste. Vos, vos tuviste. Él, ella, usted tuvo. Nosotros, nosotras tuvimos. Vosotros, vosotras tuvisteis. Ellos, ellas, ustedes tuvieron. So as you can see, we have a stem and in blue color, and in this case, we are going to change the stem. Instead of ten, de tener, you have to say tu, tuve. So we have to replace, or we have to change the stem or the root of the verb, and because of that, you have to memorize at least the first conjugation, because it's going to tell you the stem of the verb. So the rest of the conjugations, you're going to use the same stem. And in this case, as you can see, always it is to, to. So always it is to. But we have the ending, and in this case, you have to memorize it or practice with that because it is a rule. So in all cases, it's going to be the same. In the first person, we replace or we end the verb with the letter E. In the second person, iste, tuviste, iste as well, um, tuviste, uh, with the O at the end of the verb in the third person singular. So in all cases are the same, not only with this verb, but also with querer and poder. So in all cases, the ending are the same, but the stem is going to be different. Querer, quise. So we say quis. Remember that Q and U join it together. It is pronounced like a K. So you say quise. And finally, poder, pude. So we replace the O for an U in the stem of the conjugation in the first person. So it is different, right? Poder, pude. So just try to look at this. And my recommendation, just try to remember the first conjugation in the first person because it's going to tell you what is the stem. And after that, you just have to apply the ending according to the subject pronoun. So just try to look at this, the first conjugation, and I'm going to underline it in the next examples just to consider this because it's going to help you to memorize and how to use the proper simple past conjugation in Spanish. So the verb estar, that it means to be. we are going to say yo estuve, tú estuviste, él, ella, usted estuvo, nosotros estuvimos, vosotros estuvisteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes estuvieron. And the next verb, andar. Andar means to walk or to ride. Yo anduve, tú anduviste, él, ella, usted anduvo, nosotros anduvimos, vosotros anduvisteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes anduvieron. Hacer, that it means to make or to do. Yo hice, tú hiciste, él, ella, usted hizo, nosotros hicimos, vosotros hicisteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes hicieron. So as you can see, we have a difference here to the rest of the verbs that we saw before, and it is this conjugation about hizo. Él, ella, usted hizo. Why instead of to follow the C like the rest of the conjugation is because after the letter C we have the letter O. What is happening there? Remember, after the after the C, if you find an O or an A, we are going to pronounce the C like a K. So we are going to say ICO. Yo hice, tú hiciste, él, ella, usted, ICO. So what is the wrong part here? It's about the pronunciation. Because for the rest of the verb, the letter C is pronounced like an S, but in this case, it's pronounced like a K. So it sounds wrong. It sounds difficult to pronounce. So because of that, people just what they do is to replace the C for a Z. Why this changing is because the Z or the S are pronounced the same in Spanish. So we say hizo, él, ella, usted hizo. So because of that, it is the changing of this conjugation because we want to pronounce like an S, the conjugation. And because of that, we use the letter Z. And um, just try to consider this. It's really important because hacer, it is a verb that is well used and it is one of the most common verbs used in Spanish. So at least try to practice this or memorize it because it's really important. Continue with the rest of the verbs. We have poder that I mentioned before, caber, to fit, yo cupe, tú cupiste, él, ella, usted cupo, nosotros cupimos, vosotros cupisteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes cupieron. Then we have the verb poner, that it means to put. Yo puse, tú pusiste, él, ella, usted puso, nosotros pusimos, vosotros pusisteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes pusieron. The next verb, querer, I say it before, so I'm not going to repeat. And I'm going to continue with the verb saber, that it means to know. Yo supe, tú supiste, él, ella, usted supo, nosotros supimos, vosotros supisteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes supieron. Then we have the verb venir. Venir means to come. Yo vine, tú viniste, él, ella, usted vino, nosotros vinimos, vosotros vinisteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes vinieron. And we have another type of irregular verbs, and are the irregular preterites whose stem ends in J, have eron, not yeron, in the third person plural. So what it means this is because we have different verbs like this, decir. Decir means to say, and as you can see in the first conjugation, The stem ends with a J, and because of that, you have to say yo dije, yo dije, tú dijiste, él, ella, usted dijo, nosotros dijimos, vosotros dijisteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes dijeron. Dijeron, as you can see, we don't have an I in the middle of the J and E. Why is this? It's because it is an exception. So for the rest of the verbs that we saw before, we see it like um, we use the I in the middle of the J and E. But in this case, we are not going to pronounce it. So we say dijeron, dijeron. Okay? For the next verb, we have to apply the same rule. Producir, that it means to produce. Yo produje, tú produjiste, él, ella, usted produjo. Nosotros produjimos, vosotros produjisteis. Ellos, ellas, ustedes produjeron, produjeron. And traer. Traer means to bring. Yo traje, tú trajiste, él, ella, usted trajo. Nosotros trajimos, vosotros trajisteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes trajeron. And then we have these three verbs that is different as well. They have different endings and you have to memorize them as well. Dar, ir, and ser. That it means to give, to go, and to be. Dar means to give. Yo di, tú diste, él, ella, usted dio, nosotros dimos, vosotros disteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes dieron. In this case, uh, because it's different, everything is going to be different. Everything is have a different conjugation. As you can see, for example, in the first person singular, we say él, ella, usted dio, dio. So the accent mark, it is at the end of the word. So we stress the voice in the letter O. We say dio, dio. Él, ella, usted dio. And that's it. It is just to pay attention on the pronunciation. Example. The verb, I'm sorry, the verb ir, that it means to go. Yo fui, tú fuiste, él, ella, usted fue, nosotros fuimos, vosotros fuisteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes fueron. So as you can see, it's completely different, the conjugation from the infinitive form of the verb. Because of that, you have to memorize this verb. And then we have a particular case that is the verb ser, that it means to be, and we say it like the ser, like the verb ir, to go. So the verb ir and ser both are conjugated in the same way. So we are going to say the same. Yo fui, tú fuiste, él, ella, usted fue, nosotros fuimos, vosotros fuisteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes fueron. As you can see, are the same. What is this particular case? What is the reason or how we can make a difference between these cases? Well, we have to look at this. The conjugations for ir and ser are identical in the preterite. The meaning is clarified in context, as in the following examples. Ella fue doctora. She was a doctor. Ella fue a la tienda. She went to the store. So as you can see, it's completely different. Because the verb ser, it is used to describe a physical characteristic or the profession of somebody. But the verb ir, to go, It is used to describe location, address, or where are you. So most of the time, we're going to talk about uh, your position or when you move. And because of that, in context, you will know when we are going to talk about uh, fue as related to the verb ser or fue related to the verb to go or the verb ir. So in this case, ella fue doctora. She was a doctor. Ella fue a la tienda. She went to the store. The first, it is a physical, I'm sorry, it is a profession description, and because of that, we use the verb ser. And in the second case, we are going to talk about location. So because she went to the store, of course, we are going to talk about the verb to go. So in this case, you will notice in context what is the different meaning in both cases. And to end, we have the verb haber. Haber in Spanish means there was or there were, or the question was there or were there in English. For example, we have hubieron. Hubieron muchas personas. There were a lot of people. There was an animal. Hubo un animal. So in both cases, and this is really interesting, the verb haber just means there was, there were. How to use it? Remember, hubo is when we describe just one person or one thing. Hubieron is when we describe two different things or more things. So that's the difference. And just try to remember, haber, it is the infinitive form. Hubo, it is the past tense. And hubieron, it is the past tense in plural form. And this is everything for the class today. I hope that you learned something and that you can practice, of course, in the next part. So, see you, bye bye, and thank you for being here. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.